Thank you so much to everybody who is supporting me on Patreon. Your generosity and support is greatly appreciated. I love you all so much. If you like what I do and want to support me in a more personal way, then consider joining my Patreon page today. There will be a link at the top of the description. Hello and welcome to another Nerf video on the channel. My name is Luke Triton and today I'm going to be reviewing the Elite 2.0 Turbine. Oh my god, this took a lot of convincing to be able to buy this, and there are some things this blaster has got right and plenty more things it got wrong. So the Turbine is from the Elite 2.0 line. This is a magazine-fed, fully automatic blaster. This takes 4 C-size batteries to be able to operate. It will not work without them. One thing I like about this blaster straight away is the tactical potential. There are 4 tactical rails on this blaster, 1 up top, 1 underneath, and 1 on each side. Very cool. I have loads of attachments and I'll be able to put as many on them on these blasters as possible. And it has a barrel attachment point. Yes, please. Love it. So there is one thing I want to quickly address, but I will be looking at this in its own dedicated video. Yeah. So I am I'm not a fairly big person, but I'm someone who would rather have a larger blaster than a smaller one. So I had to make this modification in order for this to sit more comfortably in my shoulder. There is another modification I've made around this sort of thumbhole stock area, but I will go into more details about this again in its own dedicated video because it's not part of the main blaster. I don't want this to potentially get in the way of the main product review. So, looking at the main blaster itself, it is, again, magazine fed. Let's start off with some of the things that this blaster has gotten wrong, because I think there's more to talk about there. If anybody has seen the reviews for Elite 2.0 blasters, you kind of know where I'm going already. One of the most annoying things about this blaster is the magazine release. There is a lot of cost cutting going on with this blaster, and the magazine release is definitely one of those things. If you press it in at the bottom, that's not budging. I'm genuinely putting in a lot of pressure, a lot of strain to be able to try and release that at the bottom. Nothing. Press it in at the top, works just fine. And that's something you can get used to very quickly when it comes to wielding this blaster. So you've got that in your shoulder. If you try to use your knuckle, that's not going to work. You must get used to using your other hand, pressing at the top, sliding the magazine down slightly, then taking it out that way. It's not the end of the world, but it is a bit frustrating. It is compatible with other magazines. So if I grab my 30-dart drum, for example, perfectly compatible, nothing to worry about. There's even plenty of space for you to put your hand on the foregrip up here. There's no sort of interruption with any of the magazines that I've been using. So it has, some decent ergonomics, and even then you have to get used to using your offhand to be able to release the magazine. Be careful using drums. Drums are heavier and therefore they can drop out a bit quicker. But again, this is something you can get used to fairly quickly, so it's not going to be the end of the world. And just to quickly show something off, because I'm a bit of an arse. Yeah. Oh yeah. It even works with the fat one. So, there is another thing that I heard with some reviews of this blaster. It comes with an 18-dart stick magazine. This little accessory on the bottom it's just its own thing, it's like a cover. It doesn't affect the magazine at all, it's just its own, again, its own accessory. I tried to take this off, but after a second thought, there's no point in taking this off, it's not going to go anywhere else. So you may as well keep it on, unless you want to melt down the plastic for something else. Some people have said that their 18-dart stick mag doesn't feed well. I, for one, haven't had that, thankfully. My 18-dart stick mag that came with the Turbine feeds just fine. The spring is perfectly operational. All of the darts I've put through this and fired through this blaster as well, for that matter, have performed completely fine. I've had no jams or any issues at all when it came to operating this blaster, so that's another plus. So let's keep going about all the negative stuff, because well, I won't say all the negative stuff, but there's more negative than there is positive. What's the big one? Yeah, that's the big one, I think. So the jam door does serve a purpose. Well, up until Elite 2.0, because the jam door is next to useless. You may as well keep it off. I'm going to keep mine on because, for that overall look. I don't like that massive gap there. But on other Nerf blasters, I think on other blaster sort of brands as well, because this is how it's supposed to operate, the jam door is part of a mechanism where once you lift it, it creates, I can't remember how it works exactly, I don't modify blasters, but the idea is once you have the jam door open, you cannot fire the blaster. This is the jam door. By the way, oh, good God. Again, jam door off. And the blaster can still operate. Oh dear. That is actually a problem. Some people might think, oh, well, that's not a problem. You can still fire the blaster with the jam door off. Yes, that is one thing, but that is a quality issue that should not exist. Taking it off and reinstalling it is really simple. It's not going to take too much effort. But the fact that that's on a Nerf brand blaster, that's genuinely shocking. Again, lucky for me, like I said earlier, I had no jams or any misfeed issues with this blaster, so I didn't really have to worry about getting my fingers in there. The operation for this blaster is actually quite interesting, because if there is a jam, the mechanism this blaster uses is what I call the pushy finger. It's the same thing that's used as the Rapid Strike. Now, this is also being described as the successor to the Rapid Strike, and there's a few other things I need to compare later on in this video. But one thing that's actually really good, if there is a jam at all, that pushy finger thing, again, I don't know what you would call it, pokey finger, whatever it is. After it fires a dart, it returns to the rear, so you can actually get your fingers in there into the available space to clear out any jams. If for any reason you can't take out your magazine, because that again is its own problem. Oh goodness. You know what? Let's compare this to the Rapid Strike now, because this is an interesting sort of debate. So the Rapid Strike. This one here, this actual blaster is broken. I can't actually fire this or use this for any practical purpose. But that's okay, because I don't really plan to do so anyways. This came out in 2013. It is a staple of the Nerf hobby. It's such a comfortable blaster to hold. Let me actually get this in my shoulder. Let me show you what I mean. This, on its own, you could use all day long. It's so comfortable. It has the same battery-operated, fully automatic, magazine-fed system. And there have been a few blasters that came out after this. In 2016 there was the Hyperfire, 2018 saw the Infamous, and 2020 saw the Turbine. Each one was supposed to be the successor of the previous one, but nothing has come close to the Rapid Strike. Genuinely, nothing has, because again, it's so comfortable, it's so reliable, it's such a popular all-round blaster. It's really good. So the Turbine is another automatic blaster that's being described as the successor to the Rapid Strike, because of course it is. There is one thing I will give it. This uses the same fire mechanism as the Rapid Strike, that pokey finger doohickey. This fires faster than the Rapid Strike. It's faster, genuinely. Amazingly, it keeps up with two other blasters, the Hyperfire, which I just mentioned, and the Regulator. Those two blasters have a conveyor belt system which feed the darts into the flywheels. That's how it gets its higher rate of fire. This is using what I believe is a slightly older design, but it's keeping up with what's the bloody word? Faster firing blasters, that's it. That's genuinely so good. I'm amazed that something with this design is able to keep up with other blasters, like top of the range automatic blasters. Unmodified, it's brilliant. You know what? It's fully loaded. Let me quickly give a demonstration. Wow, that's quick. That is very quick, and that is impressive for what this blaster offers. In comparison to everything else, at least the fire rate is good. If this was a slower fire rate, I would have thought, you know what, I probably wouldn't pick this up, but that genuinely is a really good selling point for me, at least. So let's talk about the attachment points. I think this is one of the last things I could talk about, because so many people have already been turned off by this blaster. So there are 4 tactical rails, one underneath here, one at the top here, and one on each side. And that is something I very much love. The Modulus line was my favourite line of Nerf blasters because of all the attachments you can attach to these blasters. There is a barrel attachment point as well, and it's just so cool. I love the fact that the Elite 2.0 line has all of this tactical potential. Only a few attachments in this art style have really come out, but yeah, you know, something got to start somewhere. Where is there? It is next to my tower of boxes. So, there is one thing in particular about these tactical rails that I think is actually pretty well done. It's a cost-cutting measure that I, for one, am okay with. So, if I get a little bit closer. So, on these tactical rails, there are these teeth. And these are to attach to this little, you know, inverted tooth piece here on attachments to stop them from coming off. On blasters like the Rapid Strike, some older blasters for example, the tooth bit was on a spring, so taking them off and putting them on was slightly easy. With blasters that came up after then, these teeth pieces were an absolute nightmare to deal with. Taking them off became really annoying. You had to put a lot more strength into it, and eventually you get to the point where you're struggling, and then all of a sudden, boom, like that. I have actually hurt my hand a few times taking off some attachments on a few blasters, but this has been done quite well. So it takes the best of both worlds, where it has a bit of a spring to it, but it's not, it's not too bad. It has a similar shape and design as the sort of previous design, that's what I'm going to call it. Putting in a bit of pressure now, well, I say a little bit, a lot of pressure. There's a tiny bit of spring to it. There is a gap between the teeth, if I try and, you can kind of see it there. Tiny bit of gap between each tooth. And this is on all 4 of the tactical rails, by the way. So when it comes to putting on my attachment, that is now sitting on nice and comfortably. There's no loose feeling to it, and yet when it comes to taking it off, if I can actually do this properly, there we go, it's so easy. It's like that unspillable cup where you can move it around and pick it up just fine, but you can't accidentally knock it off, and it's not a struggle as well. In particular, that's one of the main things about this. That's really good. Of all the things they're going to standardize and kind of make the new standard when it comes to Elite 2.0 and other lines going forwards, I for one am okay with that. I am not okay with the barrel attachment point. I don't know if this is just my blaster or if this is what other people have experienced. So this isn't the first take for this video, and I actually discovered this about half an hour ago. This is tricky to show on camera. At a few angles it looks right, but I'm going to have to take a few pictures to better show this to you. This barrel attachment point, on my blaster at least, is warped. Along the top, that's not smooth. It kind of dips down like that. On the side, in a few areas, it curves in like that. It's not square, it's not straight. And when it came to adding a barrel attachment, I just thought it was a bit stiff. And I thought, you know what, yeah, maybe they've changed the measurements around just a tad. It's not the end of the world. I could still put it on and take it off nice and easily. But if you look at it like this, it might be a bit difficult. I don't think you could see it there. Just straight away, you can see that the barrel is angled like that. Only a tiny bit. I'm not, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But if you look at it in person, like right now, the way I'm looking at it, the barrel is sitting on an angle, just a slight angle. I can move it around to try and get it to line up. But after a while, I did see it went back to going like that. Oh, good God, please tell me that nobody else has this problem. If this is a problem that other people have with this blaster, or maybe even other Elite 2.0 blasters, that's a serious, serious issue. Because the overall quality of the Elite 2.0 blasters went down. Obviously, if you've seen other reviews, you get the idea of what I mean. But that, I don't even know what the right word to use is there, because that's genuinely so shocking. I never, ever, ever have seen anything like this. Even with second-hand blasters that I've bought and I've seen online, whatever else. I've seen, those American thrifting videos. Never seen anything like this. I've seen a few parts of blasters where they've been melted down before, like just wear and tear, bad use. But from a brand new blaster, something like this, it's just, oh my God, how did that get past? How was this a thing that got sold? Ay, ay, ay. The biggest problem is, I can't fix this. I'm not a modder, so this is going to be out of my reach anyway. But if you know Elite 2.0, the blasters have been clipped together and there have been solvent wells at certain points of the blaster, so you cannot get it open. People have successfully opened up their blasters to be able to modify and exchange a few parts, but if you break this, you're screwed. So, with all of that said and done, we get to the point of the video where I give my purchase recommendation. Now, I don't think I've had to explain this in past videos, but I want to say this anyways because, I feel like it'd just be the right thing to say. Freedom is freedom. You can spend your money on whatever you want. If you feel like you still want to get one of these blasters, absolutely go for it. I'm not here to say, I can't control what you spend your money on, obviously. But do I recommend this blaster? No. In one word, no. I took about 2 weeks to convince myself into getting this blaster, watching reviews over and over again, looking at them thinking, is this really something I want to get? Again, magazine fed, fully automatic, the tactical potential, that's a big turn on for me. But the quality issues like the jam door, like this barrel lock being a thing I discovered earlier today, that's terrible. The overall fit and finish, the ergonomics, they're good in some areas, but they're bad in other areas. It's just a bit too much. This, I was able to get this blaster for about £35 on the Smith's Toys website. I think that's a fair price. I mean, I haven't really been buying new Nerf blasters. I tend to try and get my stuff second-hand as well. But even then, I wouldn't pay that for this quality blaster. It's got some good things going for it, but the bad things, I for one think, outweigh the good things. There are much better blasters you can get your hands on and spend your money on. For example, a Rapid Strike. I live in the UK, and getting certain blasters is actually quite difficult. So if you're American and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, yeah, just get a Rapid Strike easy. It's a little bit more difficult over here. You're going to have to resort to something like eBay or even Gumtree, if you know what that is. Having to get something like that at a fairly decent price. Sadly, I wouldn't recommend this because for what it offers, it's not worth it. If you're going to be getting if you're a parent and you're getting blasters, this point, you know what, I didn't bring this up last time, but I'm actually quite glad I reminded myself to do so now. If you're a parent and you're thinking about getting blasters for your kids, don't go anywhere near Elite 2.0. I have seen how younger people, not to say that I'm judging your kids or anything like that, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to present myself that way, but I have played Nerf with some younger people, and I've seen how they treated blasters. This might just be like a few odd times where I've managed to find a few kids who have been knocking their blasters around, but these blasters, the Elite 2.0 ones, are difficult to fix. If something goes wrong, good luck fixing it. Your chances of fixing this are 0, and you'll have to take this back to the store, get a refund, maybe even have to buy another one, you know, push comes to shove. It's just not worth the hassle. I'm someone who enjoys the Nerf hobby, and I'm brave enough to spend the money on something like this. But if you're more casual than I am, don't touch it. Please save your money, spend it elsewhere. Save your money, don't buy this blaster. So, after a very interesting and lengthy review, goodness, 18 minutes, it's time to end it here. Oh, it's been nice to be able to do a Nerf video again. It's got to be said, I had to kind of figure out what the right things were to say because, you know, it's been a long time since I've done a Nerf video. Nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.